Hello there, my name is Martin Henley. This is the Effective Marketing Content Extravaganza. And if this is your first time here, you couldn't possibly know that I'm on a mission to give you everything you need to be successful in your business, providing, of course, that what you need to be successful in your business is to know more about and be implementing much more efficiently and enthusiastically and effectively sales and marketing in your business, which is, of course, what you're going to need if you're looking to be more successful. You need more customers more profitably, and eventually everything you need to do that will be available to you here on this channel. So what goes on here is I'm giving you everything I know about sales and marketing as part of the What the series. That happens on a Monday. On a Tuesday, I bring you anyone I can find with experience to share that will be useful to you if you're looking to be more successful in your business. That's Talk Marketing. On a Wednesday, we look at the marketing news and speculate wildly about what that might mean for you in your marketing life, in your marketing business, in your marketing career. And on the other Wednesday, I do marketing reviews, so you don't have to. You'll find me here thinking out loud on a Thursday. And on a Friday, we react to the very best and the very worst of marketing content on the internet. So if that sounds like it might be interesting or useful, please tell me it does, because we're only here to be interesting and useful. Please take a second to like, share, subscribe, and comment, and get involved and do all of those great things, because that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic, epic journey. If you're catching this on the day it goes out, it's a Tuesday, which means it's Talk Marketing, which means we have a guest for you. So today's guest studied at the University of Maryland and as an athlete scholar, where he captained the baseball team and achieved a bachelor's degree in business marketing. He started work as an analyst for Accenture before going on to run his own baseball academy. He has sales and marketing experience going back to 2005 and sales training experience going back to 2008. He has held a number of sales management training and directorship roles. He is currently a member with Sales Brother and Sisterhood, brand ambassador for RepView, advisory board member for Game Plan U, limited partner at Idea Fund Partners, Gtm advisor at Evotec, sales coach and course designer at Sales Impact Academy, and chief energy officer in his business, LLJR Enterprises. He is also currently volunteering at Helios, the WakeMed Foundation, and is vice president of programming for the Carolinas chapter of the National Speakers Association. Today's guest was introduced to us by Neeraj Kapoor. Brace yourselves. Today's guest is Larry Long Jr. Good morning, Mr. Long Jr.
Good morning, Martin. Can you hear me? Woo! That introduction. The check is in the mail. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. We're going to be talking marketing.
We are going to be talking marketing. Man, I'm so happy you're here. I'm so happy you're here. And look at you. Look at you. And your specialist subject, we've just decided, is energy and positivity. So we haven't covered energy and positivity. I do think you might be the most energetic and positive person I've ever met. We're going to talk all about that. You are a properly busy person, Larry. How are you managing to do all these things? That's what I'm interested to know.
Martin, I'm so blessed and fortunate. Every day that I wake up, it's one of those things. What impact, what positive impact can I have on this world? So I'm excited about life. I'm excited about the opportunity to serve others and really enjoy myself in the process. So keeping busy is also having a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Okay, good. So we need to talk about something other than your specialist subject to get people warmed up so they get a flavor of you. So let's talk. I mean, we should be talking about sales because this is kind of a marketing channel, but I get the sense that you sell through your positivity and your energy. So it's going to come around full circle. Let's talk about the sales training thing that you do. What is it that people need, or what is it that people get when they engage Larry Long Jr. to come in and give them some sales training?
Yeah, so it's strategy and process, which you can get anywhere. But I would say my focus is on the mindset. Because Martin, if you ask most people, are you in sales? By a show of hands, raise your hand if you're in sales. Most people are not going to raise their hand. I'm not in sales. I hate sales. Well, why is that? We're all in sales. And I think it comes down to your definition. It comes down to how you feel and how you relate to sales. For me, sales is two things. Number one, it's a transfer of energy. And you don't have to have off the wall energy like me. In the words of the great philosopher J.J. Walker, dynamite. But you better have some sort of juice, some sort of gumption, or else people can smell BS from a mile away. The second definition of sales, I think we're playing matchmaker. We're matching whatever we have, a product, a service, a thought, an idea, with someone else's needs, wants, desires, challenges, problems, hopes, dreams, and aspirations. And you know how you get to those? You got to ask questions, Martin. So I think we're all selling really on a daily basis. Relationships, selling. If you're a teacher, selling. If you're in retail, we're all selling. So that's really what I bring to the table, is that mindset, that perspective, and taking pride that, hey, we are in sales, which also means we're helping others. We're serving others. We're providing others with the opportunity to elevate to wherever it is that they want to go.
Okay, good. Right. So I also say these things. I've also done some sales training. When I teach people sales, I tell them we're all selling all the time. If you've ever convinced someone to do something for you, that was a successful sale. You know, and if you've never convinced anyone to do something for you, then Lord help you. But and I have my own definition of sales, which is making friends. I think sales is about making friends. I think it's about helping people, exactly like you're saying. I think it's about motivating people to do something ever so slightly different very often, you know, just motivating them to get over the issue that they're having and get it resolved. Making the most of leads, you know, so if they can't. But actually what sales is in the world isn't what you and I think it is. What sales typically is getting hold of whoever you can get hold of and not letting them go until you've bullied them into buying something from you or they completely hate you. That's actually the way sales happens in the real world, Larry. You know it. I know it. Everyone knows it. This is why everyone hates sales.
I'm going to have to push back on you, Martin. It does happen for the sales amateurs. I help people become sales professionals, and sales professionals build trust, solve problems, actually deliver value. And that's a cliche word. What does this deliver value really mean? But it's really helping someone else get to where they want to get to. It's not about you, it's about them. And we just recently celebrated Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And he has a quote that I love. And what he says is, life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are you doing to help others? So, like you talked about earlier, making friends, you want to help your friends. If you're helping others, if you're helping them get what they want, I believe that's sales. I believe that by you helping them get what they want, you're going to be able to get whatever it is that you want. But so many times, sales amateurs are all about me, 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 me. I call them me monsters. Rawr! And they give sales a bad name. It's the person in the mall when you go walking through the mall and they want to squirt the lotion in your hands. No, I'm not Ashy Larry. Not today. I'm moisturized. I don't need any lotion. It's going to the car dealership and you're looking for a minivan because I got two kids and they want to get you in a sports car. Zoom, zoom. No, did you not hear anything that I said? Come on now. So that's my impression of true sales.
Good. And I'm with you 100%. But I do think that, what do you call them? The something me's?
Me monsters.
The me monsters. That's 99.99% of salespeople. I've worked with salespeople. I've seen them, you know, and they are the vast majority. They are 99%, I would say, of salespeople. There are very few salespeople who understand that selling is just about getting on people's side, understanding what their challenges are, giving them the options, you know, and supporting them. When I was selling, I always wanted to be the mate, you know, the buddy who was just expert at providing this thing. You know, that was always my mission. but I don't think it's what goes on. Right. So I've got another
Yeah,
question.
I mean, yeah, it's I would say that the majority of sales reps are not professionals. They're not doing it the right way, which is why I'm on a mission. I'm on a mission to really change that perspective.
Fantastic. I'm also on that mission. I'm also on that mission. Good. I did a presentation once called, you won't know the Nolan sisters, but a presentation called I'm in the Mood for Selling, but I'm going to send you a link. It was like 8-9 years ago. And at the end, I had everyone in the room up dancing to the Nolan sisters because they had a song in the 80s called I'm in the Mood for Selling. So that was the closest you and I ever came and it ever will come to being in competition when I did that one presentation. So here's the question I have for you, because you're all about positivity and you studied business marketing. The question I have for you is sometimes, I would say quite often, it's not actually the salesperson's fault, because the way I see things is it's sales and marketing is a chronology. There is marketing, which generates, well, if you're doing marketing properly, understands the market, develops solutions for that market, identifies exactly who will benefit from those products, and then generates leads. And those leads are then the work of salespeople. Now, in my sales career, I sold for 10 years before I started my marketing company. I can tell you, none of the businesses I ever worked for delivered me a lead in those 10 years. So I was doing what they call self-gen. My question for you is, have you ever got to the point in an assignment where you've had to go to the business and just said, look, your marketing is completely rubbish. Your product's not right. Your targeting's not right. The leads you're generating aren't worth anything. Have you ever been in that situation, or has it always been that with your positivity and energy, you've been able to overcome all that terrible marketing? That's the question.
Well, it's once again, Martin, it's all about perspective. And you know, and I know, in the real deal, there's always that friction between sales and marketing. We can talk all we want that sales and marketing, kumbaya, they need to work together. And yes, they do. But a lot of times they're metriced on different things. You just shared it. Marketing is about getting the word out, about generating leads. Sales is all about delivering a number, and it's generally a monetary number. So, yes, I have been in that situation. And you talked about self gen. I'm a big believer that sales needs to be self reliant, and anything that marketing provides, that's icing on the cake. As a sales professional, and this is just me, my belief is that we should be generating, we should be creating and identifying our own opportunities to fill the funnel. Now, yes, marketing is there to support, that's their job. But if marketing doesn't do the job, what am I going to do? Sit back and cry and say, hey, I wasn't able to hit my number because it was marketing's fault? No, I call it FITFO. And I'm not sure if HR is listening, but I'll tell you what FITFO stands for. Figure it the freak out. We got to figure it the freak out.
Yes. Okay. And then, so this is where, because I did self-gen all my life, and that's why I started a marketing company, because I'd been marketing myself and the products that I was selling for 10 years, and I was good at it. You know, I was one of those hunter killer types. I don't know. I could do them. I could take them from stranger to sale. I could do that. But here's the issue is that when salespeople, now I know there are benefits, but when salespeople do marketing, it's not marketing anymore. It's canvassing or it's prospecting. So it is just the least efficient form of marketing. You don't get to speak to many because you don't have budgets for advertising or email campaigns or websites. You don't get to speak to many. You get to speak to one person at a time, at which point then you're knocking on doors or you're calling people and you're doing that very, very inefficient canvassing or prospecting. So I don't understand why there is friction between sales and marketing. I don't understand why the metrics are different. You're right, they very often are. But if both of those departments were targeted on a sales value and a sales volume, then it would fix that forever, I think. What do you think?
Now, you made an interesting point there about efficiency. and this is just from my experience, Martin. I can just share with you what I found. The most efficient marketing slash selling is from referrals. It's from existing relationships. You and I are talking right now because we share Neeraj Kapoor that in common. Essentially,
Yes.
he made a reference, he made a referral, which is gold. So, to all my sales professionals, my question is, why are you not leveraging those relationships? You shared it before. When you were in sales, you were developing mates, you were developing deep relationships built on trust. Martin, I do an exercise, and I would love for your listeners and your viewers to think about this. God forbid if you were in a car accident right now and you couldn't call any immediate family members, you can't call your insurance agent, who do you call? And why? I'm sure the name that comes to mind is a person that you trust, that you know will have your back, that has shown through their actions that they're there to support you. I believe as a sales professional, we should be working to elevate ourselves to be that person. Now, I've had reps say, hey, Larry, that's unrealistic. There's no way that a prospect of mine or a client of mine is going to be in a car accident and is going to think to call me. Well, I say, hey, I don't operate in the world of what's quote unquote realistic, because if I did, I would have never written this book. I'm an author. Hey, Martin, Larry Long Jr., you don't know me well, but if you ask any of my middle school, high school, college English teachers, Larry Long Jr. is an author, they would say, heck to the nah. Am I getting punked? That's got to be a bad joke. There's no way. That's unrealistic that this guy wrote a book. So essentially, I call that realistic, unrealistic. Nah, anything is possible. So I
Anything
encourage
is
folks,
possible.
anything is possible.
Anything is
I'm living
possible.
proof of it.
Okay, good. Because this is what I tell people is that what you want to do in a sales relationship is just get closer and closer and closer. So it might be that they like a tweet or an Instagram post. It might be that you bump into each other at networking. It might be that you cold call them. It might be that there's a meeting or, whatever. But the mission should be that you end up being godparents to their children. That should be the objective. And if you miss that, then you're still tight with those people. Now, I learned this. I worked in South Africa for a period of time. And what happens in South Africa is you meet people and they invite you to their house for a braai or a barbecue, like immediately. So they do that. So in that culture, you do get to become really good friends with anyone you meet, however you meet them. So I do think that is the mission. I don't think people are on that mission. I think, like you say, the unprofessional salespeople are just hoping and praying that some mug buys whatever it is they're selling because they haven't got a plan for how to sell it, you know?
You're absolutely correct. And that's why I hate to say this, but that's why I have job security, because there's a lot of opportunities in the market, especially with today's economic environment. We're going through some stuff.
Yes.
We're going through budgets that are being tightened. Companies are making reductions in their marketing budget, in their head count. So selling, you have to be a professional now. You can't, before people could get away with just throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. Now you've got to really be a true professional. You've got to solve real problems. You've got to understand the problems you solve. You've got to understand what it's like to be in the shoes of your clients and your prospects, or else you're going to be exposed. And when you're exposed, it's tough to build trust. It's tough for people to like you, to know you, to believe in you. So that's why it's so critical right now. And it's always been critical, but especially in tough times, for you to be at the top of your game.
100%. And I did a presentation. I'm not here to tell you about all my presentations, but I did a presentation in 2008 when I was running my agency and the shit was hitting the fan. And it was all about that. It was all about the fact that actually in recessions, these are opportunities, because the US economy, the UK economy, they're not dynamic economies. There's no room for movement in those economies. But now all of a sudden there's going to be movement, and in that movement there's opportunity. So your competitors are going to go out of business. Their customers are going to be looking for suppliers. Like, it's not by mistake that more millionaires become millionaires during recessions. It's not by accident that businesses that start during recessions go on to be much more successful and much more resilient. So I am with you 100%. I love you a little bit, man.
The feeling is mutual. And I designed a course for Sales Impact Academy, and the title of the course is Fighting Back in Times of Recession and Stagnation. So it's exciting for me to be able to share with folks some strategies and that mindset of, hey, this is a time for us to seize the opportunity. Now, I'm not a Latin scholar, but I think there's a term called carpe diem, seize the day. And I ask people, what are you doing to carpe diem? I met a guy, we did a Zoom. He lives in California. He had it tattooed on his forearm, carpe diem. On this forearm, he had carpe noctem. I said, I'm a little bit too old to be seizing the night, but I can seize the day. And if you think about it, the opportunity is there. The winners are the ones that actually step into it, that actually take advantage of it. The losers, and in this world, there's winners and there's losers. The losers are the ones that say, oh, woe is me. Oh, I can't have success because it's the economy, because of what's going on. No, it's because of you, that person in the mirror. That's what dictates your success or your unsuccess. That's just my perspective.
Yeah, and I think you are true. I mean, the frustration for me is that maybe I just had terrible sales jobs, but I never sold IBM. Do you know what I mean? I was selling the thing that somebody might buy if they didn't buy IBM, or I was selling, so I was never selling the Mercedes. I'd have been selling the whatever it was, the Kia. So, which is fine, but my frustration then also when I was running my company as an agency, the resistance is with the businesses, like to get them to have to get them on the same page that we're on, where we want to solve problems for people. No, what they want to do is they want to flog their product, and they don't care if it adds value, delivers value, helps people, doesn't help people. They don't care about that. So that is my frustration. But I need to be careful, because if I bleat on too much, I'm going to get called out, aren't I?
It's all good. It is all good. We need to call out and call a spade a spade. There's a lot of organizations that aren't doing it the right way. If you're not actually solving people's problems, what are you doing?
Yes. And this is how I define sales and marketing, as finding or attracting, winning, and keeping customers profitably. And if business owners just understood that you're just in the business of serving your customers, delivering your customers value, that's the only way actually you get success in an unstressful way. Otherwise, if you're just foisting product on people, they're not going to like you for very long. You might be the most charming, I want to quote Pulp Fiction, but we're avoiding swearing. You might be the most charming pig, do you know what I mean? But but if you're selling people junk, they're not going to like you for long, is the truth.
That's
Good.
Right. Spot.
Good. Let's bring some order to this, because I feel like I'm going to have to wrestle order into this. There's 5 questions. The 5 questions are, firstly, how are you qualified to talk to us? Now, you've decided that your specialist subject is energy and positivity. So this will be interesting to see if you can sustain this for the 49 minutes that we've got remaining. So how are you qualified to talk to us, Larry Long Jr., about energy and positivity? Secondly, who do you work with? How do you add value to their lives? Thirdly, what are your recommendations for people who might want to get better with their energy and positivity? Fourthly, what should people read or consume in the way of media? And fifthly, who can you throw under the bus? And I'm expecting you to throw at least 2 people under the bus in the same way that Neeraj threw you under the bus. I just need 2 people who might be interested, they might enjoy or endure to have a conversation like this with me. So, question number 1, how are you qualified to talk to us about positivity and energy as if we haven't already experienced it?
Oh, goodness. Martin, I've been living this all 44 and a half years of my life. It starts with my father. My father grew up in Baltimore City, he grew up in the projects. And there was a lot of crime, a lot of violence, drugs. And he chose to have the mindset of being positive. I think they say, is the glass half empty or half full? He said the glass is 100% full because that's what he chose, that it's going to be 100% full, even surrounded by tons of bad stuff. Now, you might be saying, hey, that was your dad. That's not you. Well, my dad passed that on to me, thankfully. And God rest his soul. He passed a little over 7 years ago, but he passed that mentality to me of optimism, of positivity, of bringing positive energy. And I wrote a book. My book is called Joe Get Zapped into Intentionality, Rediscover and Believe in Your Inner Greatness. It's about being intentional. It's about making choices. It's about having a positive mindset and bringing the energy. You think about it, Martin, when you come into a room or even a Zoom, you can either bring energy or you can suck the energy out. That's a choice. And we all know people that are negative Nancy's, negative Nellies, negative Neds, where it doesn't matter. Hey, you just won the lottery. You won $1 million. Things are terrible. I want it in all singles. It's like, what? I have some of them in my family. We'll be at a family reunion. I think you called it a barbecue earlier. You had a different name for it, but we could be at a cookout and they'll say, who made this broccoli and rice casserole? It's too salty. You made it. It's just people who want to complain just to hear themselves complain. Well, hold up, wait a minute. We're not going to do that. We're going to look for, and I've got a mate of mine, a good friend of mine, James Babb, who spoke to my team. He gave one of my teams a presentation, and he said, hey, through life, you're going to go through ups and downs. What I recommend is that through every situation, you look for the good, the great, and the wonderful. And it's crazy because we got hit with an ice storm, a snowstorm. And one of my team members, Nathan Thorpe, his car got stuck in like a snowbank. So he had to walk and stay at a hotel. He said, wow, my mindset could have been, wow, why did this happen to me? But I thought back to James' words and I looked for the good. I got some exercise. He had to walk about a mile to get to the hotel. He said, I looked for the great. I got to stay in a hotel. Now he had to pay for it. I said, well, what was the wonderful? He said, I didn't have it was his girlfriend at the time and his dog pretty much hitting him in the middle of the night. He said, I got a great night's sleep. So it's really about the choice. Now you asked, what makes me qualified? I live this each and every day. I played baseball at University of Maryland, go Terps. I'm a master at strikeouts. And I wrote a chapter in my book, Strikeouts, they're a part of life, because no matter who you are, no matter what you do, you're going to experience times where you're not successful, AKA strikeouts. And I think across the pond, y'all call the game of baseball rounders. I know that they always laugh at me when they say, oh, you play that game rounders. I'm like, what's the joke? It ain't that funny. And then I found out that rounders is played by school children. But essentially, this is what I do. I take risks. Am I afraid to fail? Of course. But even in the face of failure, it's like, hey, I'm going to bring a positive mindset. I'm going to try my best, forget the rest, and we're going to either win and or we're going to learn. And those key learnings, when you think about your career, Martin, I would imagine that some of the best learnings you've had have been through those times when you didn't have success. Some people might call it failure. I just call it lessons earned.
Good. Okay, good. Brilliant. I'm loving your energy and your positivity, man. I'm loving it, loving it, loving it. But come on. Come on. There must be days where you don't fancy it, where you just don't fancy it. You know, there must be days where we call them duvet days in the UK, where you get to the couch with the sofa. We call it a sofa in the UK. You get to your sofa with your duvet and a pillow, and that's where you are for the day watching awful daytime television. You must have those days, Larry Long Jr.
Of course, Martin, I'm human. I don't wake up and life is hunky dory every day. But even so, and I shared with you earlier, my wife is from Argentina. I'm married, I've got 2 kids. So there's stuff that we all deal with. There's family stuff, there's health stuff, relationship stuff. There's always stuff. And yeah, duvet days, of course. But I make a choice when I wake up in the morning. Hey, Larry, no matter what's going on, it's your choice to determine, are you going to wallow into a duvet day? Oh, and just waste it away? That's not carpe dieming. Or are you going to take advantage of the opportunity that you have? So I can sense your skepticism. And I hear it all the time. There's no way that this guy can be positive all the time. And you're right. But more times than not, I'm going to have a positive outlook on what's going on. I'll give you an example. I lost my father December 11th, 2015, one of the worst days of my life. I remember getting the call from my mom. I'm in the conference room of the company I'm working for, and I would be lying if I said that I was happy. I was terribly sad. I had to call and get a flight up to Boston where he was getting treatment, had all these thoughts in my mind. But I can tell you that through the tears on that flight, as I'm thinking back through just the years and the experiences I had with my dad, I made a choice that I'm going to focus on all of the great things. And I'm going to make the choice to honor my father in everything that I do. I'm going to make sure that each and every day, which isn't promised to us. I mean, I don't want to get philosophical, but we're not promised tomorrow. We're not promised the next minute. Come on, Martin. I'm making a choice that I'm going to take advantage of each and every moment. I can't talk for anyone else, but what I can do is I can share my thoughts. I can share my optimism, and I hope that it's contagious because we need more of that. Chapter 7 in my book, Lessons from My Dad. I honored my father in writing with some of the lessons that he passed to me and that I hope to pass to my kids, my family, and others that are out there. And I live my life to honor my father. I live my life to make myself proud, to serve as an example of what we can be. Everyone has the opportunity, but once again, it's a choice. And I heard you say, Martin, come on, man, there's no way. There is a way, but most people make a choice that, hey, today's a duvet day. Tomorrow's a duvet day. Well, now any day that ends in Y is a duvet day. You're wasting away life. There's so much life to be lived. Come on now. I know I'm not the only one who's taking advantage of this life that we have to live, this one life to live.
I'm sure you're not. And I'm not particularly skeptical because I don't have your energy or your positivity. I definitely don't. But when I was running my business, between 2005 and 2014, when I was running it as an agency, I launched myself out of bed every day to go and do good in the world. I was so excited. And when the recession, the crash happened in 2008, I was there, rah, rah, we can do this. I was there at that stage. I've kind of mellowed, I think, since then. I was never where you are. Let's just not even pretend that I was. Okay, so here's the thing. You say everybody has a choice, but do people have a choice? Like, people are living in poverty, man. And, they're in failing school systems, like the projects where your dad grew up. The reality for a lot of people isn't very different from that right now. So do those people really have a choice?
I believe they do. And that belief comes from my father. My father found a way, and he didn't do it alone, but it started right here. It started internally in his heart. The heart travels up to the mind travels to the mouth, and the mouth leads to the actions that you take. Now, my father was a track, he was in track and field. He was a long jumper and triple jumper, and his nickname was Shorty Long. He was 5'8", and that's rounding up. But he ran track and jumped in college. And essentially, he had mentors. He had an abusive father who was rarely in the house, alcoholic father, but he had 2 mentors, Godfrey Moore and Ralph Durant, that helped guide him, that helped serve him and show him that there's a better way, but it starts with education. So when folks say they don't have a choice, I have to respectfully push back, because you're absolutely correct on the school system, the educational system, the systems, the community systems and processes. They might not all be stacked in your favor, but I believe that any day that you wake up, you have a choice to either maximize the day. And today, I mean, let's be honest, with these things that most people have at their disposal, you've got an encyclopedia walking with you. Anything that you want to find, you can find online. We can do a Google search right now. What are the steps I need to take to go from poverty to out of the poorhouse? And you'll find a ton of results. You'll find YouTube videos. You'll find how-to checklists. You'll find avenues that you can explore to get yourself out of your current place. So I've got to push back and encourage people to look in the mirror and to ask yourself. And Tony Robbins says the most successful people, he says, ask the best questions. I say they ask the toughest questions, therefore they get the best answers. So my question to folks is, what are you doing? What are you doing to put yourself in a better position? If you can answer that question, what are you doing to put yourself in a better position? Then we're going to have most of the answers that we need. Because when I look at most people's calendar, what are they doing? They don't know what they're doing. Show me your calendar. I can show you what's important to you, what you prioritize. Are you prioritizing day-to-day TV? Are you prioritizing Instagram and the swiping, looking at reels, TikTok? Or do you prioritize investing in yourself and your growth to get to that next level, wherever it is? I used to own a baseball academy where I taught kids of all different skill levels, kids that were not very skilled, kids that had medium skill, kids that were off the wall skilled. But essentially the question is, what are you doing to get the most out of where you are today? That will give you the answer to a lot of questions from my perspective.
Okay, good. The challenges are going to keep coming. Are you ready? I think this is good because I think it's going to draw the best.
I was born ready. I love this.
Good. Okay, so good. Right. So what about those poor souls? Those poor souls who worked their whole lives, got the qualifications, worked hard, went to work for some of the tier one corporations in America, Microsoft, Google. Now we're just hearing 10,000 people are being laid off by Microsoft. 12,000 people are being laid off by Google. So I think what I'm saying to you is, like, those poor souls who work at Microsoft, you know how I feel about them. But but shit happens in your life that just actually very often isn't your fault, you know?
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I've got 2 points to make. Number one is you control the controllables. And there's an acronym that I used to use. It's called EAT. But I'm trying to slim down. One of my goals this year is to get my weight in order. So we'll flip it from EAT to T, TEA. You can control how you treat other people. You can control your emotions. And the A is you can control your actions and your attitude. Outside of that, Martin, you can't control what these companies, Twitter, Google, Microsoft, the list goes on and on. You can't control that, but you can control you. Now that leads to my second point. And I think most of us have heard, at least when I was growing up, I was taught, don't put all your eggs in one basket. So yes, the company made a decision, and hopefully you have made decisions along the way that you're not going to tie everything up to Microsoft, everything up to Google. Hopefully you invested in yourself to put yourself in a position to be okay. And I know entrepreneurship is not for everyone, but hopefully you've been planting seeds, developing relationships where even without Microsoft, you're going to be good. Hopefully, this dreaded word of budget, you've been disciplined with your budget to be in a financial situation where you're okay. But let's call a spade, Martin. I know the majority of people are not, because discipline is tough. Discipline is a choice. Discipline is hard. I don't want to do hard stuff. I think Rory Vaden wrote a book, Take the Stairs. He was looking at people going to the gym. These are people going to work out. There's stairs and there's an escalator. Majority of the people take the escalator. What in the world are we doing? It's human nature to take the easy route. But if you take the easy route and tough things happen to you, there goes the question. There goes that question again. What steps, what actions have you been taking to put yourself in the best position? That's exactly what a lot of people's answers are. Like a deer in headlights. Crickets, crickets, crickets. I haven't done anything. I haven't done what I'm supposed to do, but I want to put the blame on someone else. So, I mean, it really comes down to personal accountability and doing the tough things that we can all do, but many choose, it's a choice, not to do it.
Yeah, I'm 100% with you. I'm 100% with you. But the issue is, the challenge isn't over. The issue is, society isn't producing disciplined, resilient individuals. You know, we're suffering an epidemic of depression and anxiety, and the things that used to work, like in the UK, we'd say buck up. You know, that was it. Like if I went to my parents when I was 12 and said I'm depressed, you know, I know what I would have been told. I know what I would have been told. We're not allowed to say those things anymore. So it feels to me, and here's what I really think with my skeptical head on, is it feels to me like the machine, I'm not going to tell you there's an Illuminati, and I'm not going to, but you know, I'm not going to tell you there's elites, but the machine has learnt that unhappy people spend money. Like unhappy people make better consumers than happy people. And I know if I'm on my way down, if my energy's going down or my emotions are going down, because all sorts of shit will start turning up at my house that I bought, you know, that I don't need. So, so this is the situation that we're in 2023. There's an epidemic of anxiety and depression, and people aren't resilient and they're not resourceful. And this is where we've got to. I don't know what the question is. The question is probably, how do we remedy that? Or
yeah, it's one person at a time. So Martin, I have so much empathy for mental health and mental illness. It is an epidemic. And with that, it requires a community. There's not just one answer. This is such a complex issue, but my take, this is my impression, and all I can just share is my experience, is that sometimes folks are looking for the easy way out. I'm not saying that mental illness doesn't exist, but I am saying that there is laziness. I played baseball with folks that were lazy. They had all the ability in the world. They had all the capacity in the world. But this right here said, I don't really want to work hard. I just want to take the easy route. I just want to find excuses. I just want to blame this, that, and the other. And that's their choice. It's unfortunate because I wish I had that same God-given ability. I wish I had the opportunity to max out and find my maximum potential, but it is what it is. So that's my impression, that a lot of folks are looking and searching for excuses because that's easy. It's tough to look in the mirror and say, you know what, Larry, you didn't give it your all. And that's why your baseball academy failed. My baseball academy, it failed after a year and a half. And I could have said, oh, it was the market. Oh, it was my business partner. oh, I didn't have the knowledge. But ultimately, it comes back to my responsibility. It's asking that question, Larry, did you do everything in your power to make this a success? And if I'm being honest, the answer is no. Hindsight is 2020. I would have done things differently, which is what I'm doing now with the business that I own now, LLJR Enterprises. I understand my numbers. I'm not afraid to ask for help. Before, I had this ego where I had to be Superman. I can't ask anyone for help. I have to do it all on my own. Survey says, nah. The smartest people ask for help. They use their guidance. They use their resources around them. And that's what I'm sharing, Martin. We all have available resources. I wasn't born with a silver spoon in my mouth, in my hand, but there's opportunities for me to learn and grow that will help me get to that next level. And it's the same thing for most people that are listening, that are watching this. They have resources at their disposal, but for one reason or another, they're choosing not to use it. I'll give you an example. LinkedIn. You and I communicated on LinkedIn. Neeraj made the connection on LinkedIn. I'll give you a perfect example. For folks that have LinkedIn on their phone, we can all send a video message, an audio message, and funny GIFs that let our personality shine through. You won't believe the number of excuses that I've heard from people about why they don't do it. Oh, I don't look good on video. Well, look at this mug. I got the face for radio. I don't want to leave an audio message. I'm not sure how they're going to take it. Okay, don't do it. But I will, and I'll stand out. I'll differentiate myself. I'll make those connections and be pretty good. But that's a choice that you're making with excuses. Oh, GIFs, people might not find that funny. So what? Who cares? Some people will, because they realize that, hey, you're a real person. You're being authentic to who you are. You're keeping it real and you're not a robot. So that's just one example of things that people can do, but choose not to, and then come up with crazy excuses on why they didn't or why they couldn't. The machine is against me. The algorithm is against me. No, you are against you if we're keeping it real. That's our number one competitor. That's our number one battle, is that battle of self, the mindset. That's just what I believe, Martin. That's my 2 cents. Not even worth a nickel.
Okay, cool. All right, so this is the last challenge. But I don't think this is a challenge, because the only thing that I disagree with what you're saying is you say that it's human nature to be lazy, or it's human nature to look for the easy way. And I don't know. I wouldn't call that human nature. I think people have been conditioned in the last 30 or 40 years. They've had it too easy. And I think the only thing that isn't a choice, I don't think they're consciously choosing, but the easiest thing to do is absolutely nothing. And if you don't get called up for doing absolutely nothing, then why would you ever stop? I mean, we've got situations in the UK now where schools are complaining because parents of children are taking the children to school in their night clothes. They're not getting themselves dressed to take their children to school. This is where, like, the UK is the 6th largest economy in the world, supposedly first world country. This is where it's getting to. And the only thing I would say is about the machine is like the media machine. So if you were to turn on the news, it's depressing. Like everything's, it looks to me, if I spend 5 minutes looking at it, like they're willfully driving everything off a cliff. That's the way it looks. But, there's wars going on, there's pandemics going on, there's economic crashes going on, there's corruption going on, there's world figures bickering like children going on. It is pretty depressing. So, the way I address that is I don't tune in. I don't know how you address that.
You hit the nail on the head. The news should be called the bad news, because
Yes.
that's the majority of what they share. And it is what it is. There are a lot of bad things that are happening. And there's a lot of good things that are happening as well. Let me see, 144 weeks ago, I started my midweek, midday motivational minute. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock noon Eastern time, I go live on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, and I share a message of positivity. Because essentially, at the start of the pandemic, you turned on the news and the world is coming to an end. I spoke to a gentleman that I met who's in the news, and I said, "Why is it always so negative?" He said, "Hey, that's what drives advertiser dollars. That's what keeps people all the doom, the gloom, the blood, the guts." I said, "That's a sad state. That's a sad state." But Martin, I can't control that. I'm not a media magnet. I don't control the media. But what I do control is myself. And I said, what if I was to go on every Wednesday and just share a word of encouragement, a word of positivity, a word with energy that might touch one person? If I can just touch one person, maybe that person touches two people. And now we start a revolution. Imagine that, of positivity, of energy, of focusing on the good that's out there, the great that's out there, the wonderful that's out there, versus focusing on all that's bad. Essentially, what you focus on is generally what you're going to receive. From my experience, when I played baseball and I went through a tough time, and I would go up to the plate saying, "Don't strike out. Larry, don't strike out. Don't strike out." Guess what happened? Lo and behold, I struck out. When I would go in with the mindset and the mentality of, let's try our best. Let's go ahead and get a hard line drive. Let's do the damn thing, Larry. That positive self-talk, it didn't guarantee I had success, but it certainly flipped the script. It reframed my thinking from don't strike out to, hey, let's get it done, son. Let's get it done. So I just encourage people, control what you can control. Just like you made a choice to not consume the news. I know enough just to be dangerous, but I don't focus on the wars, the politics, the economy. I know it's out there, but I'm writing my own story. I'm creating my own narrative that is based from here and here and here, and I'm working to step into that. So whatever story the news is telling, that ain't got shit to do with me. Pardon my French, parlez-vous français, but I'm getting hyped about that. I'm not letting the news dictate what I believe and what I move forward with. And once again, it comes down to choices. I think if you look at the transcript, we've talked about the word choices so many times. I think that that's really what it comes down to. What do you choose? What's your choice?
100%. And I agree with you 100%. And all I would say, what I actually think is it's a pretty compelling, pretty sophisticated trap, and I think that's like your book is called Jolt. I think that's what's required is you have to shock people out of their situation to realize that actually they are far more capable, resourceful than they are currently thinking they are. Okay, good. So I applaud you for that. Are you ready for some good news? I expect you're always interested in good news.
Always. Give it to me. Tell me something good.
I think you are eminently qualified to talk to us about energy and positivity.
I appreciate it.
Good.
I appreciate it.
Good. And of course, I am eminently qualified to judge who is qualified to talk about positivity. And okay, good. So that takes us then to question number 2. Who do you work with? How do you add value in their lives, Larry Long Jr.?
Yes, I
How do you
primarily
monetize this positivity and energy?
Yeah, I primarily work with software sales professionals, leaders, and organizations. That's my primary client and prospect. Uh, and in addition to it, I also work with colleges and universities, associations, and nonprofits. I'm in the business of serving people, leaders, and organizations to, and this is cliche, take their game to the next level. My wife says that's so generic, and she's right. But that's what I focus on. Wherever you are, Martin, whether you're beginner, intermediate, expert, or even a subject matter expert, I try to help you drive for that next level. And so many times we limit ourselves. There's a term called the sky's the limit. I say, nah, there is no limit. You might be good, but what's holding you back from being great? And I already know the answer. I should have been a lawyer because it's that person in the mirror. You might be great, but what's holding you back from being the greatest of all time? It's that person in the mirror so many times. So, what I do to serve organizations is to help their people realize that, you know what? I am setting the bar too low. I can go even higher and do even more. There's a term, Martin. I think you might have heard it. Have you heard of SMART goals?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that SMART goals are dumb. That's just a hot take. I like the specific, I love the measurable, and I love the time bound. Those are all great. But I don't want to just be great. I want to be the greatest. So I think the A is attainable. Come on now. Who decides? Who determines what's attainable? Oh, I can only get 12 hits in a season. Who dictates that? I didn't say I can only get 12 hits. I think I can get 20 hits. I think the R is realistic. I think I told you earlier what I think about that. Why not shoot for the unrealistic? You might mess around and surprise yourself and be an author. You might mess around and surprise yourself and be a film. I'm going to be a filmmaker. I'm putting that out there in the universe. I don't know how. I don't know when. I haven't set the specifics, but I'm going to have a film, a streaming series that's going to come out. Now, conventional wisdom might say, Larry, are you stupid or are you dumb? You can't do that. Watch me. So that's how I serve folks so that they can say, watch me. What you thought was impossible, and I think the word, I'm not good at spelling, but I think the word impossible is spelled I am possible. Come on now. Holla if you hear me, Martin. That's how I serve my clients.
You won't catch me hollering, man. I'm English.
Hey, anything is possible.
Yeah. So you also do MCing and you're a professional speaker.
Yes, sir.
So does that answer the question? I'm just imagining, the board meeting where they say, sales figures are down. We're struggling to retain the sales guys. We're losing customers. We're not hitting our numbers. What we need is some black guy from the Carolinas to come in and shout at our guys about how it's actually their fault. How does that conversation go?
They need a jolt, and that's generally when organizations bring me in, when they need a burst of energy. And a lot of times they say, hey, Larry, we need some of your motivation. And I say, hey, that's good, but here goes the real deal. I'm going to come in, everyone's going to be ready to run through a brick wall, and then when I leave, 2 days, 3 days later, they're going back to womp womp, exactly where they were before. Motivation, inspiration, that comes and it goes. What I really do is I help transformation. And transformation isn't just a one and done. Hey, let's bring them in and then let's have them go and let's feel good. And then we're back to where we were before. Transformation comes from, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Allen Iverson. Do you recognize the name Allen Iverson?
No.
He played basketball in the NBA. And he has a funny, you'll have to Google it or YouTube it. Allen
Isn't the
Iverson.
NBA the National Basketball Association?
It is.
So he played basketball. He played baseball in the National Basketball Association?
No, he played basketball.
Oh,
but
okay,
Allen
right,
Iverson has a funny interview where he's talking about practice. And that's where I really help serve organizations. It's not just a one and done, but it's a one, and we're going to have some fun, but then we're going to continue on. We're going to practice what this mindset means. We're going to practice what it means as a sales professional to get up and stand up and have some energy on my calls, to have some energy on my Zooms instead of doing what everyone else does just because that's what everyone else does, to sit down and say, hello, this is Larry Long Jr. No one's inspired by that, but it's the way that we've always done it. Well, Larry, that's just the way that I am. Well, you know what? If you want to be great, you're going to have to break out of your comfort zone. You're going to have to do the things that you're able to do, but you choose not to do if you want to be the greatest. You can look at all the greats, and I had the opportunity. I'll take it across the pond. I'm pretty sure you've heard the name Arsene Wenger. He was the coach of the Untouchables. I think it was the team that didn't lose a game in the English Premier League. I think it was Arsenal. I had the opportunity to introduce him. I was the MC for an event that was hosted by Salesforce. And he was sharing a story of how do you get all of these personalities, all of these divas on the same page? Well, essentially, it's about that relationship. It's about you coaching, you guiding, them practicing, and everyone being at their max potential so that the team together can be even greater than what all the sums of the parts are. So that's what I drive. And the way that I do it, it's normally pretty sticky. People remember it. And when we continue doing it, ooh, dynamite.
Good. Okay, so here's a question, and I do need the numbers, but you don't need to worry too much. We've got lots of previous for making up statistics on the Talk Marketing Show. So here's the question, and I do need the numbers. Okay. So you don't only go with energy and positivity. There's also skills and strategy as part of that. So here's the question, and I do need the numbers. What percentage of it is energy? What percentage is skills? And what percentage is strategy?
Yeah, that's a good one right there. You've got to have the skill. You've got to have the process and the strategy. From what I've seen, the majority of it, I would say 60% is the mindset, the motivation. And this is for sales professionals. This is for athletes. I've seen professional athletes that had a ton of ability, but their mindset limited them to not being their maximum self. So I would say it's probably, and I'm not good at math, I would say it's probably 60, 20, 20. I think that equals 100. 60% the mindset, the internal drive, the hunger, the energy, the spark. And then 20% is the actual skill, the skill. For me personally, I'll take will, someone who has that internal will, that want to, over someone who's been naturally blessed with skill almost every day.
Yeah.
Almost every day, because you can't teach will. And I have examples. I'm not going to give you names, and I think most people can relate. I've worked with and I've played sports with folks that had a ton of skill. But this right here, womp womp. This right here, womp womp. You can't do anything. Like what can I do? I can't turn my coach used to say I can't make chicken salad out of chicken sugar honey iced tea. You can imagine what those words spell. Yeah, if you're not wanting, no. And it's the same thing with sales professionals, business professionals, marketing professionals. You can have all the skill in the world, but without that will. Now, having a process and being able to execute on that process, that's super important as well. I might adjust my numbers, because being able to understand the process and following the process, being able to adapt and be flexible in that process, that is critical as well. So I might say 55, 35, and I guess 55, 25, 20. 55, 25, 20. That's my final answer.
Okay, good. All right, we'll put that in a book, and it will be true. Here's the thing: I think is if you've got the mindset, the skills and the strategy are attainable. So it's almost like without the mindset, you don't move anywhere. So the much better British football manager of a much better British football team, Sir Alex Ferguson of Manchester United. I don't know the exact words, but he said it's character over skill every single time. It has to be that because you need to run through walls if you're gonna win at professional sports. You need to do that, and I think you need to do that if you're gonna win at sales quite often. And it could be better if the company's invested in understanding the market better, developing the right products, having the marketing team do the right thing. But, my experience is it rarely is. Good. We've got to question number 3. We might run over by a few minutes. Is that cool?
It's all good. It's all good.
It's all good. It is quite alarming how much you sound like Will Smith and occasionally Christopher Walken. I don't know if you've heard this before.
This is a first. And actually, I apologize, Martin. I do have a hard stop in 7 minutes. So let's roll. Let's give roll. The people what they want.
Good. Right, here we go. In a minute, because this will go on TikTok, what's your recommendation for anyone who's looking to improve their energy or positivity? 1 minute.
If you're looking to improve your energy and your positivity, I encourage you to write it down, to be thoughtful and write it down. That's a start. Now, that's not going to be it all, but when you write down your action plan, when you write down what you're committed to doing, you now have a game plan. You now have a playbook that you can follow. Step number 2, I need you to share it with an accountability partner. It can be one of your partners, one of your friends, someone in your community, a colleague, but now you have someone that's going to support you. Hercules, cheer you on, encourage you, give you a swift kick in the behind when you need it, which sometimes we need it more times than not. Now, after that, and I'm not sponsored by Nike yet, but you got to just do it. You got the game plan, you got your support team, now you've got to take action. On your mark, get set, go. That would be what I encourage people to do to elevate their energy, their positivity, and their optimism.
Fantastic. I think that is a great advice. Good. So there's 2 questions remaining. Can we do this in 5 minutes? I think we probably can. Firstly, what should people read? You've written a book called Jolt. We will link to that. You don't have to recommend that. We will do that for you. What else? Is there something that you've read that's been seminal that has really achieved something for you?
Oh, goodness. Most recently, I was part of a Think and Grow Rich mastermind. So I would strongly encourage Think and Grow Rich, which talks about, it really outlines tactical strategies and a game plan you can follow to change your mindset and really change your life. I wouldn't say that's been game changing, but it's certainly been informative about the power of intention. And I'm not a yogi. I tried hot yoga once. I almost died. I didn't realize you were supposed to hydrate. But Think and Grow Rich is a book that I would recommend. And I would just recommend folks to be lifelong learners. There's been studies that show there's a large percentage of folks that after high school, they haven't read a book. After college, they really haven't read a book. And I think that's a problem. You don't have to necessarily read the dictionary or thesaurus. I mean, I've got a teenager and a 9-year-old daughter, but you should be consuming information. You should be consuming knowledge. That's how you learn. And that's just my encouragement to folks. So Jolt, Think and Grow Rich. And for me, I consume a lot of short form content on LinkedIn. I consume some content on Twitter just to get different perspectives. It doesn't mean I agree with everything, but I certainly consume it.
Fantastic. Excellent. 3 minutes remaining, no pressure. I need to check in very quickly and find out how you're feeling about your appearance on the Talk Marketing Show. How have you enjoyed it or otherwise?
Come on, Martin. I'm having a blast. It should be written all over my face. I mean, I don't bring out both microphones unless it's a special occasion. You have certainly risen to the occasion.
Fantastic. Excellent. Good. Then you will have no trouble whatsoever throwing a couple of people under the bus who you think might also enjoy to appear on the Talk Marketing Show. You have to pitch them very quickly. What is it that's interesting, exciting about them? And then they have to be people that you can actually introduce me to. Who have you got in mind, Larry Long Jr.?
Number one, and this is easy, is my coach, my performance coach, Kristen Frade. We've been working together for the last year and a half. And just like I try to help people break through, she's helped me break through those self-limiting beliefs. There were plenty of times where when going through the book writing process, I was ready to give up. And she guided me to my why. Why am I writing this book? To honor my father, to make sure that my kids, my grandkids, know who Larry Long Jr. was and what he stood for. So just the amazing work that she does as a performance coach, Kristen Frade, number one. Number two, this is easy as well. It's my great friend, Susie Matheson. She's from England, lives in Germany, and serves as a sales coach, doing great work with multinational companies. Her thoughts, her philosophies around sales, they make me think. She gets in deep in terms of thinking around sales. So Kristen Frade, number one, Susie Matheson, number two.
Fantastic. And I can rely on you to make those introductions. Yeah. If like Neeraj did on LinkedIn, that would be phenomenal. Okay, good. Do you want some more good news?
Yes, sir.
We got to the very end and we still have some seconds remaining. So what we will do is we'll say goodbye now for the sake of anyone who's still listening or watching. Larry Long Jr., this has been a breath of fresh air. Thank you so much, man. I've thoroughly enjoyed this conversation, and I'm sure anyone who tunes in will also enjoy it. Thank you so much for being here, man.
Martin, thank you. All the best and continued success. Peace.
Thanks, brother. Thank you for taking the time to check out this episode of the Talk Marketing series. If you found this interesting and useful, you can check out the Talk Marketing playlist here, and this is something that YouTube thinks you might find useful. And if you haven't yet, please take a second to like, share, subscribe, and comment, because that will give us the motivation to continue on this epic journey.